only be asking for more. You should put it in there.
No, 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 no. Oh Lord, you forgive me some of that, some of that. Dad, you forgive me some of that, some of that. Oh Lord, you forgive me some of that, some of that. Girl, you forgive me some.
Hi guys, welcome to the shop. This is Marcus. I'm Tricia. Hey.
Yeah. What's going on, guys? Marcus here, back in the shop with Tricia, as y'all saw.
Woo!
And today's topic is power soca and hip hop. Is it power soca? And the fan just kicked on. Power soca and American hip hop, the similarities and the differences. So if you guys have been wondering where I've been for the past couple weeks, if you saw my last video, you would know that I was in Trinidad. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have saw some pictures of me in her homeland where they run around doing their thing and whatnot. So that's where
like chicken doing our thing.
That's where I've been for the past couple weeks. That's why there's been a lack of videos. So I got back this week and I kind of wanted to, you know, chill, do some cleaning and going back to work to get paid and whatnot. So that's why I've been lacking in the video department. So starting off with something slightly different, with the difference between power soca, which is Trinidadian's biggest, most popular music genre, and hip hop / pop music, which is obviously arguably America's, United States' most popular music.
Yeah.
Obviously popular, whatever.
I guess the problem is like comparing soca to like, or like the influence of soca to like the pop here and then like the EDM in Europe.
Okay, so we're gonna start off with the issues that a lot of Trinidadians are facing today with the movement of power soca, or the long-going movement, and where it's going to now. The genre is pretty old. It's been out for a few decades, if I'm correct to assume.
It's like the only genre. Like soca and calypso are like the genre.
But there's been, you know, a growing issue with a few Trinidadians, maybe not even a few, maybe, you know,
a good majority.
A good majority of people that I've talked to that are complaining that the music is being commercialized and not whitewashed, but kind of
like the influence is more like they're not focusing too much more
on the culture,
on the culture of Trinidad. They focusing more on trying to be Americans or be European.
So why don't you explain what, if you don't know what power soca is, go YouTube something. I might even put it in the background of this video and then come back and see it. So all my trainees out there, Caribbean folk, holla, what up? But explain what the issue is with power soca. What's going on? What are people complaining about?
You know, so the issue is that like they're influenced by so many different cultures. That's fine, but it's like you're taking the influence to the extreme. So let me give you guys an example. So I went to a party on the 8th before we came back, and I went with my cousins, and you know, it was cool. I was chilling, you know, whining, doing my thing, and all of a sudden Justin Bieber came on. Like Justin Bieber, like sorry.
But what's the issue with that?
And then the DJ like mixed it in to another song that was a soca song, and I was like, but that's the same beat. So and I was like, where am I? Am I in Trinidad or am I in the States?
Or in Canada.
Right, or in Canada, because it's like I didn't come to Trinidad to listen to that, because if I wanted to listen to that I would stay here.
Right.
You know, it's carnival time, it's carnival season. Carnival, you know, started on Boxing Day, December 26th, when we went to that party at the Hilton. And then to go to another carnival party, and it's like I'm listening to Justin Bieber, and everybody in the club is like fist pumping and everything, and I was like, that's different.
Well, to kind of counter that, yes, Carnival is pretty much around the corner, correct?
Yeah.
And if you don't know what Carnival is, go YouTube it.
Google it.
Google it. Do your Googles out there. To counter that, when I went to Cancun a few years back, obviously Cancun is in Mexico, and it is arguable, it's not even arguable, it's a known fact that Cancun is American territory, not territory, but tourist site.
Completely Americanized. That's
it's very touristy. So not just Americans, but I met a lot of Italian guys, other European dudes, people from around the world, from other Latino countries. But when we went to the clubs and the bars out there, they weren't playing traditional Mexican music.
Like salsa.
No, salsa's not traditional Mexican music.
What is
Salsa
traditional
is more Caribbean. Mexican music is like a ranchero and that shit. But what I'm trying to say is
like mariachi shit.
They didn't even really play that much Latin music is what I'm saying. Like even like the young generation, which is reggaeton and whatnot, they didn't even play that much. It was a lot of EDM, it was a lot of electro music, the EDM and pop music. They played a lot of Pitbull and Lil Jon. And another issue that I heard from these artists out in Trinidad is that they are going more pop. So it reminds me of when Lil Jon and Pitbull, when they kind of left that whole Dirty South crunk genre era of music back in the early 2000s to the mid 2000s, and they went real Euro EDM popish. Where to me, it's, you kind of, I don't want to say you're neglecting hip hop, but at the same time, you're getting your money. I'm proud to see, a Latino artist out there doing this thing. I'm proud to see black artists do their thing. They're evolving with the music.
Right. It's like, do you lose where you came from? Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to call them sellouts because they are making their money, especially from the Latin side. There are hundreds of Latin rappers out there, but there's not any that are on that scale, excluding like Fat Joe and the Big Puns. But that's another topic for another discussion.
But if Pitbull calls himself like Mr. Worldwide, there's nobody like on his level as far as like
international
branching out.
Right.
Exactly.
But going back to Power Soca, there's a lot of artists out here that are somewhat doing the same thing and people are complaining about it, like your boy Machel. I said it correctly. Machel, if I said that correctly, let me know. But people are complaining that he's getting more pop. Am I correct to assume that?
Yeah, he's a little pop. Like, he has his moments. Like, there's some songs that are more popish, and then there's some songs that are like stick to the roots of soca. Like his one song, Like a Boss, that won what we call Road March last year, which is what you in Carnival time, that's what they like play most of the time when they're chipping down the road. And like,
what is that?
Like two-stepping kind
of. Oh, okay.
Like when they're partying down the road on Carnival Monday, Tuesday. So in the video, I watched the video, he was like doing the nay-nay in the video. I was like, that's so weird because
it's American culture.
Right. And it's like, and he was like on a football, like a football field with a band. Not a soccer field, a football field. And I was like, where you at?
We checked out another YouTuber named Trini Trent. So
I'm gonna take this off.
So shouts out to you. And one of the points that you made in the video was that a lot of Trinidadians aren't really even dancing to the music when they're in the clubs. He also mentioned that a lot of artists are, the only way they're getting radio play and play in the clubs and whatnot is by paying off the DJs.
Or they have to know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody.
And I mean, that's the issue, but hey, that's the same thing out here.
Yeah.
Like, well, you'll listen to whack music on the radio because, or in the clubs or whatever, because that somebody knows somebody that knows somebody that paid them off and whatnot. I mean, it's called paying their dues or whatever.
Right.
But it's not just a Trinidadian issue. It's it's an American issue too. It's just politics. You know what I mean? You slide the DJ, some Brady's gonna throw in your tape in there and somewhere in the mix. And I mean, it happens here too. Like he was saying that people don't even dance in those clubs. It's the same thing out here. Like, people think that we all dance to all like the latest and greatest trap music, drill music. I mean, not really. I mean,
if it's whack, it's whack.
If it's whack, it's whack. You'll see people, I haven't gone to a club or a party in a minute, but the last few times that I went, people are still stuck on the wall, and you see them Instagram and Snapchat chatting the party like it's really lit like that, but
it's not.
It's really not. So I mean, that's the similarities between them two, these two right here.
Right.
But it's somewhat similar to with us, but I don't even say similar. I feel like it's been y'all going through what hip hop has been going through for the past decade and some change. Because if y'all remember back in the mid 2000s when Soulja Boy and all these other all these other artists were coming out trying to outdo each other with the cranking and all that other stuff. It was cool for the kids. I mean, it was cool, but it didn't last. Just like all this dabbing and nay stuff, that's not gonna last. It's just a fad. So it has a small, like I don't want to say like
small audience.
It has a small audience. I mean, you'll see it on Instagram or whatever, but when it comes to the clubs and stuff like that, it doesn't last that long. It's just a phase. Another issue was y'all had subcultures, right? Subgenre, excuse me.
Sub like Afro Soca.
So there's another thing called Afro Soca.
You put an African beat on it until a Soca song. So the problem is that Soca already gets so many influences from different countries. Like some songs do sound African, some songs do sound a little Latin American. We can do your little salsa, and then some songs sound popish. But I think the problem is that they're getting away, like they're using all of these like produced beats and stuff like that, and take away from the fact that there are instruments in Trinidad that you can use, like the pan and the drums and stuff like that.
Yeah, the one example you told me was in the 50 Cent's PIMP in the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning of the video, when you hear that yeah,
whatever that was.
That's the steel drum. That's our national instrument. Like
Right.
that was our thing. Like we invented that.
Right.
So it's like, I feel like some artists like get away from embracing their culture, right?
Okay.
And going back to where they came from, like where their ancestors came from, like Super Blue and David Rudda and Calypso Rose, all those like their ancestors, people before them that paved the way for them to be where they are now, and they like forget that those that preceded them used those instruments to get the fan base that they have now. And like my mother and my grandfather, they say, you know, back in the day, like they miss, excuse me, where you can just beat your bottle and spoon and make the beat out of just that.
Which is somewhat like go-go, which is DC based music. Where we live, we're like right outside the city. So when I did ride in the car with them, it did remind me of go-go.
A little.
Going back to what I was mentioning earlier, I said in the mid 2000s with Soulja Boy and all these other guys were coming out, that somewhat like, again, reminds of hip hop culture, how we have our little subgenres, and some of them that just not gonna last. Like, of course, I mentioned crunk earlier and all that crank and stuff. Like, those are little subgenres that just don't last. Of course, we got gangsta rap, we got drill rap, which is Chicago based, we got trap music, which is down south based, we got conscious music. In the 90s, the G-funk. I mean, we have all these little subgenres, and what I love about hip hop is, for the most part, people don't complain about it. People will say, you know, oh, that's not real hip hop, that's not what's real hip hop.
But they still embrace the change.
For the most part, we still, like, for the most part, like you said, we still embrace the change.
Yeah.
But in Trinidad, it's not really embraced from what I'm understanding. A lot of people I talk to just really miss the old days.
Like the younger generation, like I embrace it because I don't live there anymore. For the simple fact that I don't live there and I go home to get a different experience. I didn't go to Trinidad to listen to Justin Bieber because I can come home and listen to that on my phone.
I get it.
But I went home to be reminded of where I came from, to be reminded of my culture, and then to know that Carnival now is so commercialized. It's kind of heartbreaking because I'm so accustomed to where I come home and I can just chill without having to be so stush. That's our new favorite word.
Stush?
Yes, in Trinidad, that's our new favorite word. To come home and be so stush and be so uptight. Like, I just came home to relax. I didn't come home to be like it is here and be in competition with people. Right, and be always on the go. I came home to relax. And that's the culture that I know. Right. And that's not... And for whatever reason, Trinidad as a whole, like the younger generation in Trinidad, they are in major competition with... I don't know who they're in competition with.
I asked them earlier when we were, I think it was like a week or so ago when we were there. I asked them who was the hot artist. They told me Machel, if I said that correct. Hopefully I did. But I asked them like who has like the classic albums. Like we have classic albums in hip hop, obviously that are known around the world. And what her uncle was telling me was that nobody really drops albums. They just drop singles around Carnival time. And those singles just help promote Carnival. Really, these artists, they make their money off of just touring and shows.
Yeah. Okay. Some of them, like a handful of them have their music on iTunes, but that's become like a recent thing. But other than that, mostly they do a lot of tours all over the Caribbean. They do a lot of tours in London. They do a lot of like in the major cities in the US like LA. They do New York, obviously. They do DC and they do Miami. I don't know. They don't really do Atlanta that much. But like the major
Trinidad
cities.
James.
Ew. The major cities in the US that have their carnival, like they have LA Carnival, they have Labor Day weekend carnival in New York. They had DC Carnival. They still do it to an extent. Like on the weekend that there is DC Carnival, like artists would come and still perform. And you can see like I think Cassidy Band was here this past year, and I believe Machel comes and performs as well. Not like how it was back in the day.
Okay.
And then Miami Carnival, obviously everybody goes there because it's kind of the same like Trinidad. And there's not really too much violence going on.
Yeah, unlike out here. We actually had DC Carnival too for a while, but that got put to a halt. But going back to what we were talking about earlier as far as them making money, that's another similarity where I see in hip-hop, because not even just in hip-hop, but just in the music in general, because nobody really makes money off of album sales at all, unless you're a huge fan. I mean, you've seen me pick up a couple albums here and there, and you'll see other YouTubers pick up albums here and there. But
it's on the
it's all downloading, it's on the iTunes, and not even really people use iTunes anymore. Like I'm a victim of streaming myself.
Yeah, so, I stream. I have, what is that? iTunes Radio.
iTunes Radio, there's Google Play, Spotify, there's plenty of different apps, Tidal.
Yeah.
What I like about today's hip hop scenery is that there's more of a balance out there. You might not hear it on the radio, but kids know who the spitters are. The Kendricks, the J. Coles, the Wale's, the Drakes, whoever it is. Whereas, which again, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you had to have been really knee deep in hip hop roots to actually know who the spitters are.
Yeah.
I mean, at that time, I remember like when I was in high school, when I was like 15 with Soulja Boy and them coming out, the dudes that were a little younger than me, they idolized the Soulja Boys. They idolized all these other guys like the Laffy Taffies and all these guys. They thought they were the true spitters. Obviously not. We don't really see that nowadays. We know who they are. We know the Drakes and whatnot. So I feel like we are in a more golden... People are going to complain, but I really do feel like we're in a more golden era because of how balanced it is. So I feel like hip-hop has gotten a lot better, because back then people were talking about hip-hop was dead because it wasn't really balanced, but we still knew who the spitters were back then. We still had Nas and Jay and the Wu-Tang back then.
Right.
So I think that's a way I guess the culture of soca can, I guess, go back to their roots, or people can appreciate the culture more if there's more of a balance, because I really do feel like there has to be some kind of musical growth. Like, hip-hop isn't all boom bap like it once was at one time, so it's like the same thing with soca. It's gonna evolve.
Yeah. But I feel like because hip-hop is such an international genre of music, that everybody all over the world listens to hip-hop no matter what country they're in, soca is not that.
Okay.
So the problem is that the fact that people that live in Trinidad, I feel like sometimes the artists don't embrace their culture, like I said previously. And I understand, because the artists want to get their music noticed on an international level, but then do you get your music noticed on an international level with and then lose your culture at the same time? Hip hop didn't really have to do that.
We went through our phases a few times.
I mean, you went through your phases, but you had fans nonetheless.
Yeah,
no
true.
matter what kind of music the artist put out, they would still be fans.
Okay.
Like, you know how Nicki Minaj has like her faithful fans, regardless of if her album is a complete rap album or if it's a mixture of rap and pop. She always, like, her fans will stay the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Soca is not that. They don't have, like, there's a fan base. The fan base's circle is confined to the Caribbean. Like, there's a few people those who live abroad in England and wherever in Europe and then in the States, like those few people, embrace the culture and, continue to listen to music. And then if you happen to know somebody who is from Trinidad or from Jamaica, you get down to the nitty gritty of all the reggaes and of all the socas, because you're exposed to that.
All right.
You don't have the same exposure as hip hop does.
If somebody were to ask you, somebody who's really deep into soca, into the industry and whatnot, how would you feel like you could grab the listeners back into the culture where they can appreciate it more instead of complaining that it's not what it used to be?
Stop saying that this song is an Afro soca beat.
Okay.
It's still soca nonetheless.
Okay.
It's not, because we don't want you to put a name to it. Just say that this is representation of Trinidad and this is a representation of where I was born. You know what I'm saying? This is a representation of my culture, because everybody in the Caribbean has been influenced from everywhere in the world.
Right.
But you don't want to just say this is Afro soca, this is groovy soca, this is power soca. Power soca, okay, cool. But we don't want to say this is Afro soca because we put an African beat on it. That's too much.
Okay. So it can't be like hip hop.
No.
Okay. This kind of reminds me of, if anybody who's watching this is from the DMV area, kind of reminds you of go-go in a way. How go-go back in the Chuck Brown days, the Backyard Band days, versus like, was it the mid-2000s, where it was bounce beat got real popular. Where it's like the CCBs and the TCBs came out.
Yeah.
Where go-go just
really like
it got really
trash candy sounding.
Nah, trash candy sounding was back in the day. It got to the point where it just became like just wild.
Yeah, true, because you know, like when the young people used to go to the go-go's, they used to be like out of hand. But back in the day,
stuff.
right, when the go-go, like when my stepdad used to go to go-go's,
It was more chill.
It was more chill. And he used to complain about that, actually. How
No,
like,
it was boring.
how it's changed.
Yeah,
like,
it was
from-
got more wild.
Right.
Well, I guess to summarize it, from her perspective, soca can't be on the level of hip hop to where there's different subgenres. So all these old school hip hop heads, you may agree with that because you may not consider things that you listen to on the radio or songs that you listen to on the radio or see. If anybody still watches 106 Park, those videos considered as hip hop.
106 Park not even on.
Whatever, that's how I know how to touch I am with what's on TV. But yeah, I guess, I mean, I love where the state of hip hop is. I am a foreigner to Trinidad, obviously. I like the music, what I heard out there, but I can
like
totally
it too.
see, you know, where these guys are coming from. So that's pretty much our perspective, or her perspective, of the soca culture. And this
Don't
is,
yell at me, guys.
and this is where I see the similarities and differences of hip hop. So this is just our opinion. If you are of Trinidadian or Tobagonian descent, let me know what you think in the comment section. If you're familiar with soca or power soca, let me know what y'all think in the power section, in the comment section. So if you agree or disagree, let us know in the comment section. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe.
Tell a friend.
Yeah, tell a friend to tell a friend. And hopefully I'll be back on my grind soon. I know this is the first video of 2016 for me. So that's
Happy
it, guys.
New Year,
Happy New
guys.
Year to everybody. Feels good to be back.